The chrome spires of New Draconis gleamed under twin suns as Albert wiped grease from his calloused hands. The massive fusion reactor before him hummed with renewed life, its crystalline core pulsing steady blue, a testament to 3 sleepless nights of work. Around him, Dragonkin engineers whispered in their melodic language, their scaled faces a mixture of disbelief and grudging respect. Impossible, hissed Vexter, the senior engineer whose iridescent green scales caught the workshop's harsh lighting. Human hands shouldn't be able to calibrate draconian fusion matrices. The tolerances are measured in quantum fluctuations. Albert didn't look up from his diagnostic pad. Yeah, well, human eyes can't see ultraviolet either, but we built sensors that can. Adaptation isn't about what you're born with, it's about what you're willing to learn. The workshop doors exploded open with a concussive boom that rattled every tool on every rack. Arya stormed in, her crimson scales shimmering with barely contained fury. Wings folded tight against her back in the Dragonkin expression of extreme agitation. The 20-foot ceiling suddenly felt cramped with her presence. Her golden eyes, each the size of Albert's fist, locked onto him with predatory intensity. You, she snarled, smoke curling from her nostrils. You're still here. Albert set down his tools with deliberate calm, meeting her gaze without flinching, a gesture that made every dragonkin in the room inhale sharply. Direct eye contact with an enraged dragon was considered either courage or suicide, often both. Last I checked, you fired me 3 days ago, Miss Arya, Albert said evenly. But your reactor was 12 hours from a cascading meltdown that would have vaporized 6 city blocks. Professional ethics trump hurt feelings. Arya's massive form tensed, her tail thick as a tree trunk smashing into a support pillar and leaving a deep gouge. Professional ethics? You dare lecture me about ethics when you defied a direct order from your employer. Former employer, Albert corrected, pulling off his work gloves. And yes, I dare, because unlike you, I actually care about the 1,000 families living in the shadow of this facility. You saw a balance sheet. I saw people. The temperature in the room spiked as Arya's inner fire flared. Dragonkin across the workshop scrambled backward, but Albert stood his ground, jaw set. Careful, Miss Arya, he continued, his voice dropping but losing none of its steel. Your grandfather built this company on the principle that power comes with responsibility. He hired me because humans have something your kind sometimes forgets in your centuries-long lives. We remember what it's like to be fragile. For a heartbeat, the only sound was the steady thrum of the repaired reactor. Then Arya's golden eyes narrowed, and something shifted in her expression, the rage giving way to something more complex, more calculating. My grandfather, she said slowly, smoke still trailing from her nostrils, mentioned you in his final message to me. He said, when the fire of pride blinds you, seek the human who sees clearly. Her massive head tilted, studying Albert with new intensity. I thought he'd gone senile in his last days. Albert's expression softened fractionally. Corvin was a good man, a dragon. He gave me a chance when no one else would hire a human in draconian heavy industry. Said my mortal urgency was exactly what his company needed. Arya's wings unfurled slightly, a gesture of uncertainty. Around them, the Dragonkin workers watched with rapt attention, witnessing something unprecedented, their notoriously imperious boss being challenged by a human barely a tenth her size. The board wants me to sue you for insubordination and damages, Arya said, though her tone had lost its cutting edge. They say allowing a human to override dragon authority sets a dangerous precedent. Then the board is welcome to explain to the Galactic Safety Commission why they prioritize profit margins over preventing a Class 7 industrial disaster, Albert replied, crossing his arms. I kept detailed logs, every ignored safety report, every corner cut, every warning dismissed. Your grandfather taught me to document everything. A sound rumbled from Arya's chest. Took Albert a moment to recognize it as laughter, deep and resonant enough to vibrate in his bones. He did love his documentation, she admitted. Then her expression hardened again, though without the previous fury. So what now, Albert Chen? You've saved my company from catastrophe and made me look like a fool in front of my entire engineering division. What does the brave little human want? A reward, reinstatement. Albert glanced at the reactor, its steady pulse reflected in his dark eyes. I want you to mean it. Mean what? When you tell your workers they matter, when you say safety is paramount, when you claim to honor your grandfather's legacy. He met her gaze again. Dragons live for centuries, Miss Arya. You have time to learn from mistakes. Humans don't have that luxury, so we learn fast or we don't survive. Right now, you need someone who'll tell you the truth, even when it costs them. The silence stretched. Then Arya drew herself up to her full, imposing height, wings spreading wide in a gesture of formal decree. Albert Chen, she declared, her voice carrying the harmonics of official dragon pronouncement. I hereby appoint you Chief Safety Officer of Corvin Industrial Solutions, with full authority to override any decision including mine that compromises worker safety or public welfare. The Dragonkin workers erupted in shocked chittering. Albert's eyebrows rose. That's not a position that exists in your company. It does now, Arya replied, a smirk playing across her massive features. Salary commensurate with someone who saved my company and taught me humility in the same week. Plus full access to my grandfather's private technical archive, something even I haven't fully explored. Albert studied her for a long moment, searching for deception or mockery. He found only genuine respect, hard-won and perhaps grudging. But real. He extended his small, scarred human hand toward her enormous clawed one. Then I accept, boss. But I'm installing 30 more safety sensors and upgrading your emergency systems. Arya's hand engulfed his entirely as they shook. I'd expect nothing less, Chief Chen. As Albert turned back to his work, Vexter approached Arya with obvious trepidation. My lady, the board will protest this decision most vigorously. Arya's smile showed far too many teeth. Then let them. My grandfather spent 2 centuries building this company on strength and honor. If we've grown so weak that we fear the truth from a human mechanic, then perhaps we deserve to fall. She looked back at Albert, already deep in his diagnostic pad, muttering about inadequate backup systems and criminally negligent power distribution for the first time since her grandfather's death. Arya felt something like hope kindle in her chest. The old dragon had been right, as always. Sometimes the smallest flames burn brightest.